What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Try Time Podcast YouTube channel. I'm Callum, and this is the 5 biggest disappointments from the 2024 season. Now, before we get into the video, I just want to say, please subscribe, as we've got a subscriber competition going on at the minute. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we'll be giving away a shirt of the winner's choice. So yeah, subscribe to make sure you're involved in that. And yeah, let's get into the video. So, top 5 disappointments of the 2024 season. It can be managers, it can be a club, it can be a player. And yeah, let's just get straight into it. So first up, we've got the most obvious one, and that is a club, and it is Hull FC. Now, people are going to say at this point, it's not even disappointing, I think, to a degree, because from the first game of the season, they was on that downward trajectory, and they've never really shown like they're going to come up from it, really. Don't get me wrong, they've made some good decisions throughout the season in terms of setting up the club for the future. But as in, this season, we were predicting them 8th, 9th. They've obviously finished, we don't know at this time. I mean, at the time of this going out, we may. This is being recorded sort of just the week before this goes out. But it's disappointing whether they finish 11th or 12th. I don't care. Just not happened on the pitch. It's not been great off the pitch either. And yet, Hull FC, I mean, don't get me wrong, the team at the start of the season, it was never a playoff team, but it was a team where you thought they can bleed some of these young players in and still win games, and they've not really done that. And yeah, bit of a disappointment. Next up, we've got a player, and I've got Cam Smith. Now, it's an interesting one because I'm a big Cam Smith guy. I really like Cam Smith. But it seems like a lot of Leeds fans have turned on him. And don't get me wrong, his performances have dropped this year. Leeds have not been great. They've been better than they were last year, but they've still not been great. And Cam Smith, is he a part of that? I don't necessarily think he's the cause of them not making the playoffs or missing out on that. But I think his performances have dropped. Like I said, I don't think he's been as prolific. Is that because Leeds as a whole these last 2 years have not been very good? I don't know. Jared O'Connor, when he has played at loose, has outshone him, and Leeds fans are calling for Smith to be dropped, which, as a club captain and, a homegrown club captain player that a couple of years ago people were saying he's got to be in the England squad, yeah, you've got to say he's a disappointment. Do I think he's a bad player? Hell no. Do I think he can definitely come back and have a great season next year? Yeah, of course I do. It'll be fine. Next up, we're going to drop down just for a second, down to the Championship, and we've got the Halifax Panthers. Now, there's no sort of, everyone knows now about the sort of financial troubles, and it's kind of striking a lot of the Championship sides. But Halifax, with the team they assembled at the start of the year, and how over the last couple of years, even if they've not made the playoffs, they've been a competitive side that can beat any team in the Championship. Where you players like your Louis Dufresne, I rave about him every week on the podcast. He's such a good player. And then, recruiting the likes of Widdop and Eden, how can they not be a disappointment that they are, they're probably not going to go down, but they've been a big threat of doing that all season. And they've just, if they do stay up, they have scraped it. Like, they are a disappointment in terms of, I don't care about the financial worries. I know Eden left, fairly early on. Widdop's still there. If you can't win games in Championship with Widdop and Dufresne in the halves, there's something wrong bigger than what's going on the pitch, I think. Because it's always been a sound, solid Championship squad. And I mean, things like Dan Murray leaving on the eve of the season to go to Widnes when Halifax didn't have the depth, and then players getting injured. And don't get me wrong, they've not got the squad depth at all. Completely different to some of the other teams in the Championship. But, I mean, I didn't expect them to necessarily get the playoffs, but I thought, 7th, 8th, still in that sort of periphery, but they've had a dreadful season, which I'm sure Halifax fans are wanting to forget. That is now compounded by these financial troubles, and it seems like a Halifax fan can't catch a break at the minute. But yeah, disappointment. Now we're going to bounce back up to Super League for the 4th one, and that is back to another player, and that's Darryl Clark. Now, I feel bad saying this because I absolutely love Darryl Clark. He's one of my favourite hookers in the Super League. But it has to be said that he has not been as good this year for Saints as he has been in the past. And I don't think that's him aging out either. I think there's a lot of problems going on at Saints. But, these games that Saints have been losing with the injuries and stuff, and Clark's been involved in that as well. But I feel like a hooker, they've gone from like a James Roby, who I think would have helped drag them through that more than Clark has. I think Clark's great, but it's not quite been the sort of move that I think he expected. Saints in the past, we know what the history is recently, the past sort of 4 or 5 years, they've absolutely smoked teams in the league. he's not had that easy of a ride, and it'll challenge him as well. He'll be used to that at Warrington as well, not everything being easy. But yeah, I felt harsh putting him on this list, but I think he has disappointed me. But that is because of how high my expectations of him are. He's still a top 4, top 5 hooker in the league, but I expect him to be the top 1, and he's not been that this season, so that is a disappointment to me. Now the last one, we're going all the way down to League One. We've got all leagues covered here, and I've gone the North Wales Crusaders. Now, if you'd have told me in March time a team that's going to be in the playoffs in League One, I would have said North Wales. They came to Odsal in the Challenge Cup. Don't get me wrong, we put 40 on them, but they looked really good and looked like a team with players who were good enough for League One, good enough to get the playoffs, especially when you've got, 6 teams getting the playoffs in a 9-team league, and then 3 of them teams are Newcastle, who barely had a team, Cornwall, who've not really been good, and then Midlands, who, again, another expansion team who haven't been good, and to get pipped that by Midlands, and that's credit to Midlands, by the way, because if I was to do the reverse of this, which I may do, they would be there because they've been absolutely fantastic, and the way they've made the playoffs is great. But North Wales as a team dropping out, it's really poor from them. As a team who we know years ago was in Super League and stuff, I'm not even talking about that. But the squad they had and the promise they showed in that game against at Odsal, I expected better from them, so they have been a disappointment. I think in a league with only 9 teams where there's 6 playoff spots, and 3 of the teams are generally significantly worse than the others, especially on paper, I think North Wales should have been making that top 6, and the fact that they haven't is a disappointment. But there we have it, guys. You let me know who have I missed. I'm sure there's a million disappointments this season, or might be a player for your team that's not quite cut it and I might have missed that. I can't put everyone on this, it's only 5 players. But yeah, let me know down below, guys. And yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.